Kara stared in disbelief as the HOA president slapped the violation notice on her front door. A demand to remove the family's beloved shed within 30 days or face steep fines. But when she took the issue to City Hall, a weathered archivist's discovery turned the neighborhood war upside down. Now Kara had to make the ultimate choice: surrender to the HOA's bullying or go to war to protect the one piece of her family's legacy. Kara crumpled the violation notice in her hand, her knuckles turning white with rage. This is unbelievable. The shed has been here for over 20 years. Her husband, Mike, placed a calming hand on her shoulder. I know, honey, but you know how the HOA is. They're like a pack of rabid dogs when it comes to enforcing their precious rules. Kara glared at the manicured lawns and identical houses that surrounded their modest home. I can't believe they're making us get rid of the shed. It was Dad's pride and joy. The only thing he left us when he passed. Mike sighed heavily. I know, but we don't have a choice. If we don't remove it, they'll fine us thousands of dollars. We can't afford that. Kara felt the tears welling up. I just don't understand why they're doing this. It's not harming anyone. You know how it is. They want everything to look perfect and uniform. Anything that doesn't fit their vision has to go, Mike said, pulling her into a tight embrace. Kara buried her face in his chest, her mind racing. She couldn't bear the thought of losing the last remnant of her father. That shed held so many memories. Weekends spent tinkering with him, the smell of sawdust, the sound of his laughter. I'm not giving it up without a fight, she said, pulling away and wiping her eyes. There has to be something we can do. Mike looked at her hesitantly. Kara, I know how much that shed means to you, but the HOA bylaws are clear. We don't have any grounds to. I'm going to City Hall, Kara interrupted, her eyes blazing with determination. There has to be some record of when that shed was built. If it predates the HOA, they can't force us to remove it. Before Mike could protest, Kara was already heading to the car, her mind racing with a plan. She wouldn't let the HOA take away the last piece of her father. Not without a fight. Kara strode through the doors of City Hall, her determination fueling each step. She approached the front desk, a sense of urgency in her voice. I need to speak with someone about the history of my property. It's an emergency. The elderly receptionist looked up, her bespectacled eyes peering curiously. Of course, dear. How can I assist you? My homeowners association is demanding that I remove a shed on my property, but I believe it predates the HOA. Is there any way to research the history and find out when it was built? Kara asked, her words tumbling out in a rush. The receptionist nodded sympathetically. I see. Let me see what I can do. She typed a few commands into her computer and then gestured to an office down the hall. The archivist, Mr. Thompson, should be able to help you. He's our resident expert on the history of this city. Kara thanked the woman and hurried to the indicated office, her heart pounding with a glimmer of hope. If she could just prove that the shed was built before the HOA was established, they would have no grounds to force its removal. Knocking firmly on the door, Kara waited as an elderly man with wispy white hair and thick glasses peered out at her. How can I help you, young lady? He asked, his voice carrying a raspy, world-weary tone. Mr. Thompson, I'm in a bit of a predicament. My homeowners association is demanding that I remove a shed on my property, but I believe it predates the HOA. Is there any way you could help me research the history of my property? Kara explained, her fingers crossed. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened, and he gestured for her to come inside. Well, now that's an interesting situation you've got there. Let's see what we can uncover. As Kara stepped into the cramped, dusty office, filled to the brim with old records and documents, she couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. If anyone could help her, it would be this archivist and his trove of historical knowledge. Mr. Thompson shuffled around his office, pulling out thick binders and carefully unrolling yellowed maps. All right, let's see what we can find about your property's history. Kara watched anxiously as the archivist meticulously scanned through the records, muttering to himself. After what felt like an eternity, he suddenly let out a triumphant, "Aha! I've got it," he exclaimed, his eyes twinkling behind his spectacles. "Your property was originally purchased back in the 1950s, long before this neighborhood was even a gleam in the developer's eye." Kara leaned forward, her heart racing. "And the shed? When was it built?" Mr. Thompson adjusted his glasses and continued, "According to these building permits, the shed was constructed in the late 1960s, at least 15 years before the Homeowners Association was established." Kara couldn't believe her ears. "So the HOA has no right to demand that I remove it?" The archivist nodded emphatically. "Precisely. This shed is a legal, pre-existing structure. The HOA has no grounds to force its removal." Kara felt a surge of relief and gratitude wash over her. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. This is exactly what I needed. I have to get back home and show this to the HOA president." Mr. Thompson chuckled, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Oh, I suspect he won't be too pleased to hear this news. Be sure to give him my regards." Kara hurried out of the office, her mind racing. She couldn't wait to see the look on the HOA president's face when she presented this evidence. Finally, she had a way to protect the last remnant of her father's legacy. As she stepped out into the sunlight, Kara couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of hope. The shed wasn't going anywhere, and she would make sure the HOA knew it. Kara burst through the front door, waving the stack of papers triumphantly. "Mike, you're not going to believe this." Her husband looked up from the couch, his brow furrowed with concern. "What is it, honey? Did you find something at City Hall?" "Yes," Kara exclaimed, plopping down beside him. "The shed was built in the late 1960s, over 15 years before the HOA was even established. They have no legal grounds to force us to remove it." Mike's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious? That's incredible news." He pulled Kara into a tight hug, a relieved laugh escaping his lips. "I know," Kara said, beaming. Mr. Thompson, the archivist, dug up all the records. "He said the HOA president is going to be furious when he hears this." Mike shook his head in amazement. "I can't believe it. All this time, we thought we had no choice but to give in to their demands. This changes everything." Kara nodded, her expression turning more serious. "I know. Now we have to go to the HOA and stand our ground. I'm not letting them bully us into giving up the last piece of my dad's legacy." "That's my girl," Mike said, squeezing her hand reassuringly. "Let's go show them who they're dealing with." The couple set out, determination etched on their faces. As they approached the HOA's gleaming office, Kara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the confrontation to come. Pushing open the door, she strode up to the front desk, where the perpetually scowling HOA president sat behind his computer. "Mr. Harrington, I have some information you need to see," Kara began, her voice unwavering. The HOA president glared at her, his lips pressed into a thin line. "This better be good, Mrs. Donovan. You're already on thin ice with that eyesore of a shed in your backyard." Kara fought the urge to snap back, instead placing the documents on the desk. According to the city's records, the shed was built in the late 1960s, long before the HOA was even established. You have no legal grounds to demand its removal. Mr. Harrington's eyes narrowed as he scanned the papers, his face flushing with anger. "This is preposterous. You can't possibly expect us to." "I expect you to follow the law," Kara interrupted, her tone firm. "The shed stays. End of discussion." Mr. Harrington's face contorted with barely contained rage as he glared at Kara and Mike. "This is outrageous. You can't possibly expect us to allow that eyesore to remain on your property. It's an affront to the entire neighborhood." Kara stood her ground, her expression unwavering. "The log is on our side, Mr. Harrington. The shed was built long before the HOA was established, and you have no right to demand its removal. The HOA president slammed his fist on the desk, causing the papers to flutter. This is unacceptable. We have strict guidelines that every homeowner must adhere to. Your shed is in clear violation of our bylaws. Mike stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Mr. Harrington, we understand your concerns, but the facts are clear. The shed predates the HOA, and you have no legal grounds to force us to remove it. I will not accept this, Mr. Harrington shouted, his face turning an angry shade of red. This is an outrage. You're making a mockery of our homeowners association. I'll see to it that you're both fined and sanctioned to the fullest extent possible. Kara felt her heart racing, but she refused to back down. Go ahead and try. We have the evidence to prove that the shed is a legally protected structure. Any attempt to fine or punish us will only result in a lawsuit that you cannot win. The HOA president's eyes narrowed to slits as he glared at the couple. You have no idea who you're messing with, Mrs. Donovan. This is not over. I will make your life a living hell until you submit to our demands. Mike stepped in front of Kara, shielding her. Threaten us all you want, Mr. Harrington. But we're not going anywhere. The shed stays, and you can't do a damn thing about it. For a moment, the room was filled with a tense silence as the two men stared each other down. Then, without a word, Mr. Harrington snatched the documents off his desk and stormed out of the office, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. Kara let out a shaky breath, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. That went as well as I expected. Mike pulled her into a tight hug. You were amazing, honey. I'm so proud of you for standing up to that bully. Kara nodded, a grim determination settling over her. This isn't over, Mike. Mr. Harrington is not going to let this go without a fight. We need to be prepared for whatever he has in store for us. Over the next few days, Kara and Mike braced themselves for retaliation from the vengeful HOA president. They knew Mr. Harrington wouldn't take their victory lying down, and they were right. The first strike came in the form of a series of increasingly petty violation notices. Kara's mailbox was not up to code. Mike's car was parked improperly. The grass in their front yard was half an inch too long. This is ridiculous. Kara fumed, slamming the latest notice down on the kitchen table. He's just trying to harass us into submission. Mike placed a calming hand on her arm. I know, honey, but we can't give in. We have the law on our side, and he knows it. Kara nodded, her jaw set with determination. You're right. We just have to keep fighting him at every turn. And fight they did. Kara and Mike meticulously followed every HOA rule to the letter, refusing to give Mr. Harrington any ammunition to use against them. They attended every neighborhood meeting, always polite, but unwavering in their defense of the shed. But the HOA president was relentless. He began rallying the other homeowners, sowing seeds of discontent and resentment towards the Donovans. Suddenly, Kara and Mike found themselves shunned by their once friendly neighbors. How dare you defy the HOA? One of their former friends hissed at Kara in the grocery store. You're ruining everything for the rest of us. Kara felt her heart sink, but she refused to back down. I'm sorry you feel that way, but this isn't about you. It's about our legal right to keep the shed. As the weeks turned into months, the tension in the neighborhood reached a boiling point. Petty vandalism targeting the Donovans' property became a common occurrence. Tires slashed, windows smashed, and one particularly disturbing incident where someone had attempted to set the shed on fire. Kara and Mike reported each incident to the police, but the authorities could do little without solid evidence. Mr. Harrington, of course, maintained a veneer of innocence, while subtly encouraging the other homeowners to take matters into their own hands. This is getting out of control, Mike said one night as they surveyed the latest damage to their property. I'm worried someone is going to get hurt. Kara squeezed his hand, her own expression grim. I know, but we can't give in. Mike, We have to keep fighting. For Dad's sake. Mike sighed heavily, pulling her into a tight embrace. I'm with you, Kara. No matter what. As the couple stood together in the darkness, Kara couldn't help but wonder how much longer they could hold out against the relentless onslaught of the HOA. The stakes were higher than ever, and she knew they were running out of options. The vandalism and harassment continued unabated, and Kara and Mike found themselves increasingly isolated from their once friendly neighbors. The HOA's campaign of intimidation was taking a heavy toll, both financially and emotionally. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up, Kara, Mike said one evening, his face weary with worry. The repair bills are draining our savings, and I'm worried about what they might do next. Kara reached across the table, squeezing his hand. I know, honey, but we can't give in. That shed is the last piece of my dad's legacy, and I won't let them take it away from us. Mike sighed heavily. I understand, but at what cost? We've already had to replace the windows twice, and that's not even counting the slash tires and the attempt to burn down the shed. At this rate, we'll be bankrupt before the end of the year. Kara felt a lump form in her throat. As much as she hated to admit it, Mike was right. The financial strain was becoming overwhelming, and she couldn't ignore the very real threat of physical harm to their property and even themselves. What do you think we should do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mike ran a hand through his hair, his expression pained. I'd hate to say this, but maybe it's time to consider compromising with the HOA. We could see if they'll allow us to keep the shed, but move it to a less visible location on the property. Kara felt her heart sink. But that's not fair, Mike. The shed belongs where it is, a testament to my father's hard work and legacy. I can't just shove it out of sight to appease a bunch of bullies. I know, Kara, I know, Mike said, reaching across the table to take her hand. But we have to think about our family's well-being. We can't keep living in fear, constantly looking over our shoulders. Something has to give. Kara felt the tears welling up in her eyes. I just don't know what to do. I can't bear the thought of losing the last piece of Dad that we have left. Mike pulled her into a tight embrace, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. I know, honey. I know. But we have to do what's best for us, for our family. Even if it means making a difficult compromise. Kara clung to her husband, her resolve wavering. As much as she hated to admit it, Mike was right. They were fighting a losing battle, and the cost was becoming too high. With a heavy heart, she made the decision to approach the HOA president once more, this time with a proposal that might just save their home and their family. Kara steeled herself as she approached the HOA office, Mike by her side. After months of unwavering defiance, she was about to make the hardest compromise of her life. As they stepped through the door, Mr. Harrington looked up, a smug grin spreading across his face. Well, well, if it isn't the Donovans. I must say, I'm surprised to see you here. I thought you'd be too busy repairing the latest round of vandalism to grace us with your presence. Kara took a deep breath, pushing down her rising anger. Mr. Harrington, we need to talk. The HOA president leaned back in his chair, folding his hands across his chest. Oh, I'm all ears. Have you finally come to your senses and decided to remove that eyesore of a shed? Kara glanced at Mike, who gave her an encouraging nod. No, Mr. Harrington. We haven't changed our minds about the shed, but we're willing to compromise. Mr. Harrington's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Compromise? Well, this is certainly an unexpected turn of events. What do you have in mind? We're willing to move the shed to a less visible location on our property, as long as you agree to leave us alone and stop the harassment, Kara said, her voice steady. The HOA president's eyes narrowed as he studied the couple. That's an interesting proposal. And what's to stop you from going back on your word once the shed is relocated? Mike stepped forward, his expression serious. You have our word, Mr. Harrington. If we hold up our end of the bargain, you have to agree to leave us alone and stop the vandalism. No more petty violations, no more retaliation. A clean slate. Mr. Harrington stroked his chin, contemplating the offer. Well, I must say, I'm impressed by your willingness to compromise. It's certainly more than I expected from you two. Kara felt her heart racing as the HOA president deliberated. This was their last chance to put an end to the endless conflict. Finally, Mr. Harrington sighed heavily. All right, I'll agree to your terms, but the shed better be moved within the next 30 days, and it better be out of sight. If I so much as catch a glimpse of it, the deal is off. Kara let out a breath she didn't even realize she'd been holding. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. You have our word. The shed will be relocated, and you'll never have to worry about it again. As they left the HOA office, Kara felt a mix of relief and bittersweet resignation. She hated having to compromise, but she knew it was the only way to protect her family and preserve the last remnant of her father's legacy. With a heavy heart, Kara and Mike began planning the relocation of the beloved shed, knowing that while it would no longer occupy its rightful place, it would still be theirs to cherish and pass down to future generations.